Content warning. Please note that this episode contains dark themes that some people may find disturbing for younger listeners.
If you think you might be sensitive to this kind of content, please listen with an adult or check out one of our other episodes.
With that said, enjoy the podcast. Make sure to check us out on Facebook and Instagram at This Strange World Podcast and on Twitter at This Strange Pod.
Hello, and welcome back to This Strange World Podcast. I'm Leah.
I'm Gavin.
And I'm Chris.
And Chris has a very interesting topic for us. It's a cult. I have genuinely never heard of it. Last time we talked about a cult, it was the Jonestown Cult, the People's Temple of Christ or something like that. I'm editing it right now. This is all pre-recorded. It's all fake. Life is fake and it's a ruse. But Chris has a new cult for us that I had heard of the Jonestown one. I heard of the Kool-Aid and all that. And if you haven't listened to that episode, go check it out. It's the third episode.
It's really a good story.
It's a deep dive. It's a very fascinating story, and I'm looking forward to this one. Heaven's Gate. As you can probably tell by the title of this podcast, but I have never heard of it. Leah, have you ever heard of it?
Nope. I thought it was kind of related to the song Stairway to Heaven, but I don't think so. I asked prior, before we recorded, I was like, is Heaven's Gate a song? But then I thought of Stairway to Heaven. Anyways, yeah.
Chris, so let's jump right in. What is it?
Yeah, so Heaven's Gate isn't much of a story like the last cult episode with Jonestown. I'm going to be talking about this cult and its beliefs, because the beliefs, I think, are what makes this cult like podcast worthy for us. Leah, you mentioned that it reminds you of the Stairway to Heaven. In the beginning of Stairway to Heaven, it's kind of weird, like mystical kind of stuff. So that's kind of what this is. So it kind of fits with your song.
Stairway to Heaven based off of this?
No.
Okay,
well. No, not even.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
I'm interested to learn more. So tell us more about Heaven's Gate.
So, like Jonestown, they all committed suicide like Jonestown, and I'll get into that.
Spoiler alert.
As you can tell, we have started out with a very lighthearted subject.
Subject.
Yeah.
And a little bit of spoiler warning.
Well,
yeah.
I tease into it because a lot of the stuff has to do with the whole suicide
How
thing.
It ends? Yeah. All right.
Yeah. But it's more of a doozy than Jonestown is, just in terms of what they believed.
Oh.
Yeah.
Tell us more.
So I'm gonna start out with the history. I'm gonna start out with the history of Heaven's Gate. So Heaven's Gate was a UFO religious doomsday cult based out of California. Yeah, I said UFO, like aliens, like extraterrestrial, based out of California. And the most famous of the houses that they owned was in Rancho Santa Fe in California. It was founded by
Santa Fe. It's nice in Santa Fe though. I mean, it's not like I think my mom really likes it.
I think a lot of cults in California.
There's a lot of cults in California,
like the desert or wherever.
I don't know what goes on in the desert. But it was founded by a man named Marshall Applewhite and co-founder Bonnie Nettles. So
those are strange names. Those are
Marshall Applewhite and Bonnie Nettles. Yeah, Applewhite also. What?
No, I'm sorry. I was gonna say that those are just Marshall Applewhite and what was the second name?
Bonnie Nettles.
Okay.
Yeah,
I misheard you when you first said her last name.
All right. Great start.
If you want to think of what Applewhite looks like, literally look at what face would go with the name Applewhite, and that's what he looks like.
I have an image. I have a thought.
Yeah.
So they went by the names in the cult. They went by the names of Bo. So Marshall Applewhite was Bo, and Peep was Bonnie Nettles. So they'd go by Bo and Peep, like Bo Peep. Marshall used to be a professor at the University of St. Thomas in Houston, but he was fired because there were rumors that he had an inappropriate relationship with some of his male students.
This sounds like my high school.
Wait, did you mention what year this was?
When he was a professor?
Just to when does any of this cult take place? Is this last year? Is it the 50s? Like I have no
It's the
concept.
90s. It's the late 90s.
Oh.
Of when this whole thing happened. Yeah, it's like 97. So my brother was born when they did their thing.
Yeah, because Jonestown was like 50s to like 70s, but so now this is more of a modern day.
This is this is kind of the first like modern one that had a website. So their website is still online. And that's where I got a lot of my information from.
Goodness.
Spoiler alert to the sources. But
what's the name of the website?
Where is it? It's like buried in my.
Are you gonna look it up right now? You should wait.
I should.
Oh wait, because it'll spoil it. But yeah, I will definitely look that up.
Oh, do you want to see Applewhite before we keep going?
Sure.
Yeah, you have a photo?
I can show you.
I must describe her, but I'd love him. I'm sorry, him. Yep, I was like an old guy.
I feel like are there memes of him or any videos out there? Because I feel like I recognize him.
There's a how much of my camera? There's a ton of videos online. So that picture came from, there's a video on YouTube. There's a 10-part, I think it's 10-part. He literally just rants for an hour, but it's like an initiation video of going into the cult, and that's all online.
For those of you who cannot see the picture that Chris just showed us, which is all of you except for us, it is exactly what you think. It's an old man with like white hair, and he looks crazy. It looks like he should be a meme.
I'm gonna get into what I'm talking about. I'm gonna get into eyes. Eyes are very important to the story. In his initiation video, in part 1, someone counted. It's 8 minutes long. People blink. I think they said like 20 times a minute, or I don't know how many times people blink in a minute. He blinks 20 times in the 8 minutes.
Is that a lot?
He does not blink.
Wait, is that a lot or a little?
That's a little.
That's really little.
Blink like,
I know.
I want to say like 50 times a minute, something like that.
Now I'm like self-conscious about how often I'm blinking. Let's do a quick search.
Someone said, the average person blinks 15 to 20 times per minute. He only blinked 38 times in this 8-minute video.
So don't listen to my number. Ignore my number, because I was like 30 to 40 off, so we're good.
No, but even still, okay. Yeah, I looked it up, and it says each blink is an interval of 2 to 10 seconds, usually around 10 blinks per minute in a laboratory setting. So, I mean, how many? 20-something in 8 minutes?
He blinked 38 times in 8 minutes.
38 times. Oh, this says how long can the average person go without blinking? For normal, it might be around 1 to 3 minutes. But
that's normal. 3 minutes.
He goes.
Oh my god! Some people have gone. Okay, it also says some people have gone 19 hours without blinking, but that just sounds crazy.
Really bad.
But so usually around 1 to 3 minutes is like weird and a lot. So my eyes are watering and I'm blinking just fine.
Yeah.
All right. So tell us more about this man who doesn't blink.
Well, I'm gonna go on to his co-founder right now because she's way more interesting than this other guy. So after he was kicked out from the university, he met this married nurse named Bonnie Nettles in a hospital. And Bonnie's a very interesting woman, and I say interesting in air quotes because before she met Marshall, her marriage was on shaky ground already because she had practiced in seances and spoke to multiple mediums in an attempt to contact the spirits of the dead. She would also dabble in astrology, which is horoscopes, and theosophy, which is like the study of the occult. So it's not theology, but it's theosophy, which is the occult stuff.
I've never heard of
she was
either.
Also... What?
I said I've never heard of either. Of like theosophy or theosophy? I don't even know.
She was also told by many fortune tellers that she would meet a mysterious man who was tall, light-haired, and fair in complexion, which is a very close resemblance to Applewhite's appearance at the time, which I made a little note here. I said, this to me is a kind of dumb thing for a fortune teller to say, because I can think of like 10 different people I've met in the last year that fit the description of tall, light-haired, and fair in complexion. Even if you search up Heaven's Gate or you've heard of Heaven's Gate, you probably think of Marshall Applewhite, so this guy that I showed you earlier. But interestingly enough, most of the beliefs of the cult come from Bonnie, not Marshall. So Bonnie was the brains and Marshall was the mouth. So that's why you see Marshall on the videos and you never see Bonnie anywhere because she was behind the scenes. But she came up with all of the belief systems for the cult. After the two met each other, Bonnie urged Marshall to read a book called The Secret Doctrine, which was a book about metaphysics, and metaphysics is kind of like deep thinking, theology, kind of. It's a lot. and UFOs and astrology. Eventually, they both became so convinced that there were actually two aliens who were millions of years old who were reincarnated as humans to help save the humans from a corrupt world. I did not make that up. That is a direct quote from a website. They thought that they were aliens who were millions of years old.
I mean, vibe with it, man. Like, I don't know what else to say. Sure.
Are they really high? Like,
are there a lot of drugs in this?
Yeah.
There's explanations that I kind of go into. It's a quick explanation, but there might be a psychological reason why this is all happening. And I'll get into that pretty soon. This is the beginnings of the cult. So after meeting Nettles, Marshall Applewhite believed that he had met his soulmate. And when I wrote this in my script, I said soul-mate, like you split it up, because Marshall's view on a soulmate isn't what we mostly think of. To him, it was more of like the literal sense. His soul was to be connected with hers. So he wanted a relationship that was loving but not sexual in any nature. So only their souls could be connected. So it was kind of like two really close souls, like in the spiritual sense that they were really connected.
This is really cringy. I already want out.
Cringy,
yeah, this is a lot.
The 90s, man.
This is a lot. The two claim that the first moment they locked eyes, and this is where I said eyes are a common theme in this story. The two claim that the first moment that they locked eyes, they knew that they had a spiritual connection with one another. This connection drove Bonnie to divorce her husband and caused Marshall Applewhite to leave his entire family and friends altogether. Bonnie had told Applewhite that extraterrestrials had foretold of their meeting, and that this meant to Applewhite that he had a divine assignment on Earth. Marshall Applewhite, in many of the cult's initiation tapes, says he claims to be like Jesus himself in his mission, and he was a savior brought to Earth by his father, who was a member of a race of humans called the above humans, who were around before evolution took place. And then I put a note that said weird stuff.
Okay. What is the weird stuff?
That's the weird stuff.
That's the weird stuff?
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like all of it's weird stuff.
The whole thing is just weird stuff.
What? It already just sounds crazy.
Leah can't even begin to just... This is a real
I'm
cult.
gonna laugh and cry. You know how I laugh and cry. I'm about to do that. Like,
this is a real cult, and it only gets strange from here too. When I get into actually what the beliefs are of this cult,
I was worried that it was going to become normal from here.
There's been psychological case studies about these two people, and one thing I often see a lot that answers your question about earlier is that they both suffered from something called, I'm going to butcher this, but folie à deux, so it's French. But it also means shared psychosis, which is when one partner transfers their delusions onto the other partner and the belief is shared. So Bonnie had delusions and transferred it to the partner to make him think the same way that she does, which you see a lot. Like you see a lot of people that are like really crazy and then their partners are normal and then they marry them and then they become crazy because they share their delusion.
It's kind of like when people who like look like they're dogs. Like, you know,
yeah,
when people look like their dogs, it's kind of like that.
I don't look like my dog. Do I look like my dog?
I wasn't saying that, but have you ever seen those comparison pictures of like people who look like their dogs? Like it'd be like a guy with like blonde hair next to his like golden doodle with long hair.
Blonde hair.
I'm not saying that you look like your dogs, but it's like kind of like that. Or yeah, even like I'm sure there's other stuff like that of like couples who like become more similar when they spend more time with each other. I don't think that's the most uncommon part of this story. Yeah, like I don't think that's
this is probably the most normal
true.
part of the story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So many think that Bonnie encouraged Applewhite to believe in the outrageous beliefs of Heaven's Gate and with this shared psychosis. And this is where I said, speaking of beliefs, I teased them a lot already. So let's get into them. Be warned, you guys are going to say what a lot. So you guys are going to be like, what the hell is he talking about? So the biggest belief, and one that was the cornerstone of their religion, was that the planet Earth was going to be recycled. The only way that their conscience was going to survive the transfer is if they left their human bodies at the right time. Commonly, Applewhite referred to the human body as a vehicle that our real bodies travel in. So that they mention that a lot in the initiation tapes and in the website. They talk about Earth is recycling.
So you mean if they like Romeo and Juliet themselves and then they do it at the right time and...
Yeah, so they have to do that mass suicide at the right time. And then their bodies will be transformed to the higher beings and their body will be taken away in a spaceship.
But so who
You gotta
told them
give
that
it-
it had to be a specific time? Like what?
Yeah.
Or did they just
Well-
did they just decide, you know what, it needs to be like?
Or was it like their delusions maybe? Because
It was delusions. Yeah, it was
Like
delusions.
Christian
It was
said, yeah.
it was Bonnie, honestly, because she had all these weird, and she convinced Marshall to do it. And I listened to Marshall's tapes, and he is convincing. Like his demeanor and his tone is like, you can expect a lot of people to be like, "Oh, okay, I'll
His
listen."
demeanor
to this
of not blinking.
Oh yeah, no, his voice is soothing though. I like.
How
his voice.
old is Bonnie? Did you mention that?
She's. I didn't even check. I can check
Do you
that.
have a range? And he's pretty old, I assume, right?
Yeah, he looks a little bit older.
Oh yeah, he was old when he died. That was taken like a year before he died, I think. I'm not
Like,
entirely
he
sure.
was around like late 50s, early 60s.
Oh, if not, that looked like 60s.
So Bonnie Nettles was born in 1927, and
I can't do math, man. That's quick
we don't have
math.
to. So Marshall was born in 1931, so Marshall's younger than Bonnie. He died when he was 65.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Dang,
Yeah.
that's so
So,
sad though. Okay,
the next belief was you could only achieve this next level of death either naturally, accidentally, or death by accidental violence. Suicide was not viewed as a way to transfer the body. And ironically, even though the group did commit a mass suicide, they kind of phrased it in a way that was different than mass suicide. But if you didn't participate, that was another no-no for the group. And they saw that as suicide of the conscience because you weren't with them. So if you were in the group and they were doing their mass suicide and you left, they saw that as suicide of your conscience. And that was a big no-no. And you were still not pure.
Oh. Well, okay.
Yeah.
That's
Which-
like
You have to be like really devoted.
it's like the
Yeah, they
kamikaze
wanted devotion.
pilots who like their life was then devoted to like dying by crashing the plane, right? Was that the kamikaze?
Wait, what?
That's what they would, yeah.
It's like
You know
the kamikaze pilots who like
Wait, we should do a podcast on it, so don't tell me. But
you don't know.
Oh, we can do
Well,
a
I mean, no,
podcast
that's
on
like,
kamikazes.
yeah. I mean, sure, we can talk about that. But like, it's like those pilots who would like kill themselves by like flying their planes into like, I don't know, enemies during war. Like it's almost kind of like that. And then if they didn't do that, then that was like super, like that was bad. They could like not go home. Like that was super.
I didn't know that.
That was a no go. Like if they
dishonorable.
if they like backed out at the last second and didn't like crash their plane into like the enemies, like they were like disrespected for like ever.
I don't like
That's
that.
what
But
my
okay.
initial thought was. Maybe we'll talk about that in a future podcast.
Yeah, I'd be
Yeah,
interested to hear.
maybe. So the third belief is they taught the members of the group that in order to achieve this next level of living, they had to be pure. And one of the ways that you could be pure enough to move on to the next level is to give up all of your past lives. And this meant your identity, your sexuality, your gender, your friends, your family, your money, your possessions, your house. They had to give everything up to this cult in order for you to move on to the next area. So you had to just sell everything and get rid of all your friends and family and abandon them and then join their cult.
But the cult wasn't making money, were they?
I don't know.
Jonestown was making money.
Jonestown was making money. They made money. Yeah, they made money because they had to buy a house.
But
they bought a house.
They weren't doing it to make money.
No,
They genuinely were trying to like get to a better place.
Yeah, so Jonestown, he seemed like he was a psycho, but he kind of did it in a manipulative way. These people actually believed what they were doing was like they thought that they were actually going to a spaceship and they thought that they were actually going to be aliens.
Do you know how they initially had these ideas? Like, is it based off of like, not necessarily the Bible,
Yeah.
but like, was there an original place where this, and especially because it's more recent, like being in the 90s, that
Mhm.
did they come up with this and just, were they like, oh, I read it somewhere, I wrote it down, I read it, or were they like,
Well-
did they actually like find it somewhere?
I didn't put this in the script that I had because there's just a lot of other stuff I had to put in.
Love going off script. That's
Oh
my
yeah.
favorite part.
Yeah.
Time to go off script.
Of course. Bonnie read a lot of stuff about metaphysics and aliens, and she became fascinated by this stuff
Mhm.
enough to the point where she thought that she was one. So this wasn't from something. This was kind of just because she became obsessed with the occult and like fortune tellers and mediums told her that aliens were coming and that she was one. And so she was like, I mean, her brain couldn't have been all there if she believed this stuff, because this is far out, this stuff. So she read a lot of stuff, and she went to, I think they said that she tried to form a church about this stuff with Marshall when they met each other. And then that didn't work because they got arrested somehow about like a fake car. They didn't make it's very confusing, but they rented a car. The car wasn't paid for, so they got arrested. And then in jail, they even further developed their alien brain stuff when they were behind bars.
So this was initially trying to start as them trying to start a religion, and then they were unsuccessful, so then they made it more as a low-key cult.
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah.
Well, not saying that religions are cults, but you know.
This one's weird. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, so the fourth one, I think I'm on, I don't know what I'm on, but the next one, the world that they're going to travel to when they gave up these human hosts is a planet far away that's full of pure bliss, and the people feed off sunlight. Again, I'm not making any of this up.
Dude, and photosynthesis?
Yeah,
they
will be photosynthesizing?
The aliens that they would become, or the beings that they would become, would feed off sunlight. And they said that God was just a very advanced extraterrestrial. So God was an alien, is what they thought.
I mean, to an extent, I
God
guess.
is an alien. I didn't know how to hit that, but I was trying.
You're literally wearing an Ariana Grande shirt.
I am. You just butchered her last name.
Ariana Grande? Is it not Grande?
It's Grande, actually, but
okay.
Grande.
Well,
anyway.
Thank you for that.
Okay. Another belief that they had was they believed that little evil space aliens called Luciferians, were falsely misrepresented themselves to Earthlings to be God. So they would come to Earth and they would say, "I'm God," in order to corrupt all religions into making it harder for humans to reach the next level. So they believed that Christianity, Islam, Judaism, all of those were corrupted humans, like humans that were tricked into thinking that these little aliens were God. And so they made a religion to worship these little aliens instead of what they should be worshiping, which is Heaven's Gate. So they thought Heaven's Gate was the real religion and everything else was a corrupted, twisted version that little evil space aliens corrupted so that people couldn't reach the next level.
Okay. Did they have examples of the little aliens? Like, did they think that they saw it, or did they think that it existed in something else? Or were they just a concept that it's like, oh, you'll know it if you see it?
I don't know. I don't even want to begin to get into the heads of their, of their belief system. They didn't say that they were little. They just said that they, it says members of Heaven's Gate believe that evil space aliens called Luciferians falsely, and considered humans to keep humans from developing. So that's what,
Interesting.
So what I said, but they were never little, but they were just evil space aliens.
For some reason, I took away that they were like imps or something.
Well, that's what I said. I said little space aliens because that's trying to be funny.
Yeah.
Imagine all of this going down on like Mars or something like that, because that's where people think like aliens are coming from, or Mars. So
I was thinking
green aliens.
I was thinking when I was doing this stuff was, what if they were actually right? Like, what if this is true?
True. All these different cults, like one of them's bound to be right.
If we keep trying, yeah.
Exactly.
So, I don't know if you're going to keep going.
I was not going to keep going. Go right ahead.
In order to achieve the next level, humans can go, I said this already, but humans can go about this in a couple of ways, which is death, whether it be natural, accidental violence.
Gotta say virus.
Suicide.
Ooh, virus.
Ooh, yeah, right. Accidental violence. Interestingly enough, suicide by definition was banned from the cult, even though they all committed a mass suicide. But they covered themselves from the irony by calling their mass suicide a graduation from their old bodies into their new ones. So they could be physically picked up by the alien spacecraft in a rapture-esque manner, or they would be killed by, or another way that they could do it was they could be killed by persecution. So someone could be like, "You're Heaven's Gate," and they kill them, and then they would be able to go to the spaceship. So those are the only 4 ways you could do it. So you could go in the mass suicide, you could just die by a car accident or a sickness, or someone could kill you. And that was the only ways that you'd be able to go to this alien spacecraft.
Interesting. I assume you're going to get into this later, but was there a specific way of how they died in the mass suicide, or are you getting into that later?
I'm going to get into that right now.
Oh, beautiful. That's great transition from me.
Yeah.
Wow. Pat on the back to Gavin.
A+, guys. No more A minuses. Sorry, PD. A+ is only.
A+. I'll check minus, everyone.
PD, you're amazing. Okay, just know that if you're listening, you're amazing.
Wow, what a subtweet. All right.
So here's another eye symbolism thing. So Bonnie died of liver cancer that spread from her eye. So it started in her eye and spread to liver cancer. So this is the third mention of an eye in this story. What she told the cult was that she was an alien who was millions of years old and couldn't die, and then she died. So Marshall Applewhite had to quickly redevelop the belief system that Bonnie was beyond this world and she couldn't die. So they were basically told that she was an alien who couldn't die. And now that she did die, Applewhite had to reform the teachings. And he said that she moved on to the next level by giving up her body vehicle and achieving the next level. So she died and left the body here. And so they actually, what's the thing where you burn the body? Cremated. They cremated the body and then spread it on a lake somewhere. But basically that he was like, okay, so she left. And so the teachings before where you would die and then the body would go up, and then she died, the body was here. So she basically said, okay, so she ended up going with the body, without the body, is what he told the people, is that she left without the body. And I was watching this video on YouTube from a person who was in the cult, and he said that the reason that they did the mass suicide was because he wanted to hammer home the fact that you could leave without your body. So that's why they did the mass suicide, was because of Bonnie's death.
What quick thinking from our boy Applewhite.
Yeah, Applewhite was doing some quick thinking.
What little improv skills? Applewhite improver?
Right. Wow. He had to quickly change a religion. So
I'm sure that's not the easiest thing.
Right. The person also said that it became a waiting game. So the person who was in the cult said it was a waiting game. And he said that the whole cult was basically, everyone was waiting for this day to come that they were going to all kill themselves. And eventually that waiting has to stop. So Marshall was looking for a reason for this to stop. And that day came in 1997 when the comet Hale-Bopp was going to pass over Earth's atmosphere for the first time in 4,000 years. So 4,000 years ago, it went over. I think it said 4,000. It was either under 4,000. It was a long time ago. And along with the comet going by, the planets aligned in the sky to form a Jewish star in the sky. So Jupiter, Saturn, Mars, they all aligned up to be a Jewish star. So he was like, what a perfect time to go.
Vibes immaculate. Let's all die.
Right. And he told the Heaven's Gate members that there was a spaceship flying behind the comet that was going to take them to this new realm of existence. So,
oh my God.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. You okay, Leah?
This is just confusing to me. Gavin's understanding, but I'm just like, what?
I'm trying to think about the fact that they believe this. Because like with Jonestown that we've talked about, which again, if you haven't listened to it, please check it out wherever you get your podcast.
Ow.
But like he was then kind of just like, all right, let's all kill ourselves so that like no one, like we all go down together. But then these guys he believed it. Like,
and everyone else did too.
Which is like just, I mean, sure, I guess there wasn't really internet yet, or if there was,
there was internet.
But I mean, it's not to the extent of
not to the extent of today.
Not now, yeah.
Not that connectivity. But I mean, as you mentioned before, there's a website, which I'm sure you'll get into more. But
oh yeah, it's a very 90s website.
Just the concept that they like really believe this was like, do you know how many people were in this cult?
39 died.
That's not a lot of people. You'd think if
if
they believed it was real, he would try to take more people.
Mm-hmm.
Well, some people weren't in the area, and I'll get into that too. I didn't put it in my script, so I'm going to go off script at the end.
Off script.
Yeah, off script.
Should have like a little sound to kind of go with that. Like...
Off script.
Off script.
Yeah, Gavin can be like
off script.
Off script.
I don't know how loud that was, but time to go off script.
Fix those levels later.
I'll fix it in post.
So before I go off script, I'm going to talk about this suicide thing.
Go for it.
Get to go off it. So the stage was set and the plan was set in motion. So the group prepared a concoction of phenobarbital, which is an epileptic medication. They combined that with applesauce and vodka because alcohol makes the medicine lethal when you mix it with vodka. So that's how they killed themselves. So each member was given a pair of sweatpants and black shirts for their graduation.
I would just like to stop. They're like, first of all, they're like getting lit. They're like, all right, we're going out. We might as well do some shots.
They took shots of applesauce vodka and phenobarbital
and some epilepsy medication.
I wonder what type of vodka they use as well.
Honestly, yeah. I mean, they're going out. Do you think that? I assume he wouldn't cheapen out on them.
No, they're going.
You gotta
going
do some Mongol vodka, man.
They're doing top shelf.
I suggest it.
Top shelf.
They're doing Grey Goose.
Vodka.
Exactly. All right. Anyway, so sweatpants.
So each member was given a pair of sweatpants and black shirts, and that was their, quote unquote graduation gown.
Dude,
and they're each given
that's my graduation gown. That's what I'm wearing.
Right. Black shirts and sweatpants.
Exactly.
And they were given a matching pair of Nike sneakers. So Nike actually took a bunch of heat from this because the famous photos that came out of this thing was everyone was wearing Nike sneakers. And the reason that was because the cult was just given a good deal.
Got a brand deal.
Yeah, right. They got sponsored by Nike.
Sponsored by Nike.
So
Foot Locker was having a sale.
2 for 1.
Right.
BITCH by 4. That's from Dojo Cast's boss.
Oh.
BITCH 2 for 1. You know a bitch by 4. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So the deaths were staggered. So only only some would die at a time because they had to prepare the bodies in a matching position. So when people died, members would prepare the bodies in a matching position on a bed with a purple sheet covering their bodies. This continued until all 39 people were dead. And the last 2 that died didn't finish their ritual because there was just no one left alive to put them in that position. So everyone was on a bed facing up. Their bodies were covered except for their feet. And this was 39? So 37. 37 bodies were like that. And the other 2 were on the ground just because everyone was dead, so they couldn't finish the ritual.
Yeah.
Oof.
Oh, they didn't. They didn't make the plane or the ship.
No. Well, no, they did. I think Applewhite said that they were given immunity because no one was alive to finish the ritual. So
I feel like he just bends these rules.
Hold
to
up.
like.
Did Applewood die with them?
Yes.
Okay.
He was the 3rd to last one to die.
Gotcha.
So he's gonna bend the rules because why not?
Yeah.
Well, he makes the rules.
Exactly.
He can bend them.
But he's not the mastermind. You said he wasn't the mastermind.
But at this point, the other woman's dead. Yeah.
The woman's dead already.
Okay.
So, yeah. So the bodies were found when one member, not in the area. So this is the guy from the video I was talking about before. The guy who said he was in the cult before. He got a package because he wasn't there. He got a package that had a video from Applewhite saying that the time has come and a message that they had all moved on from their human bodies. And he said that he was very upset at this because he wanted to go with them because they all believed it.
Who said
this? And then this was this guy named Rio D'angelo. So Rio D'angelo traveled to the house where the deaths happened because he knew where it was because he was in the cult. And he found the back door was purposely unlocked. And inside, he found the 39 bodies inside the house. And he went outside, and his boss made him call the police so that the police would come and find the bodies. Uh-huh. So this was a huge media firestorm. Everyone was covering the story. Nike was getting hit because they had their shoes was in the thing. There was a very famous photo because Rio D'angelo took a video when he was inside the place, and you could see the Nike sneakers. And there was a story. I'm going off script now. Off script. There was testimonials from people who were in the cult that years after this happened, they still tried to kill themselves because they wanted to join this place. So years after this happened, the media firestorm went up. Everyone was going crazy. It died down, and then they still tried to kill themselves because they wanted to go after this cult. So these people were, really dedicated. And then I have a little note at the end of this thing that said, "Yep, this all really happened, and nothing was made up."
Wow.
So everything was true.
Is that the whole story?
That's the whole story. Well, that's what I got. There's a lot more to the story that I didn't put in.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I mean, initial thoughts. I mean, I'll compare it to Jonestown with the fact that there was the mass suicide. They're very similar, but it's interesting to see how Jonestown, again, if you haven't listened to the Jonestown podcast, it's a great episode. I'm editing it as we're filming this one, but time is a construct. But yeah, it's just, I don't know what I was going to say.
You're at a loss
That's
for words.
honestly what I'm thinking
It's
right now.
interesting. I don't know what to say. It's interesting to see how Jonestown is from like the 70s versus then this one. Oh, so you said this one has a website. This was.
Oh, yeah.
There was a website.
Yeah.
All right.
It's called. I think.
I'm gonna go to this website right now.
Let's check this out. Yeah.
So, Leah, you were very lost in this thing. I tried to make this.
Is it heavensgate.com?
It's called heavensgate.com, and they have red alert. So if you look at the top of the page, it says red alert beeping. That's because they had that red alert going on, and red alert means it's time to go. And since everyone's dead, they haven't updated the website.
First of all,
This is what I got.
I feel like
I got over.
Oh no,
to
that's not it.
heavensgate.com.
Yeah.
First of all, I feel like I shouldn't. I feel like I shouldn't be here. Like I feel like I'm like.
It's just sad. It's sad because they say like transcripts from 2 recent videos, and the recent videos were like 20 years ago.
Yeah, like
because
to order a hard copy of our book from 1996.
Have you guys seen the logo to this Heaven's Gate thing?
Oh, I'm looking at it.
Because it's very like kind of interstellar, like keyhole, like I'm still trying to find the website. Oh, here it is.
Oh, wait, there's an address. There's emails. Do you think people still reply to this email address?
I don't know.
Wow, this is just.
I don't know.
To anyone, heavensgate.com, you're greeted with a site with a space-looking background, and you immediately see their logo, Heaven's Gate. The A's in both of those words are connected. The gate looks like a keyhole, and it says, as was promised, the keys to Heaven's Gate are here again in T and Doe.
Oh, yeah, so I forgot to tell you, they also went by other names, too. It wasn't just Bo and Peep. They went T-Do, like T-Do. Like, it's kind of like the scale.
Yeah,
like do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, T-Do.
And then it says the UFO 2 as they were in Jesus and his Father 2,000 years ago.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, because it says Hail Bop brings closure to Heaven's Gate. And there's a blinking red alert thing at the top. And there's all these different bookmarks to their missions and their position against suicide and how a member of the kingdom of heaven
I feel
might
really
appear.
creepy being on this.
This is
I'm gonna get
really
off that.
creeping me out. And there's books.
Yeah.
Do you think you can still order the book? I'm gonna.
Gavin, no,
No,
you don't
Well,
need to
you
do
can
that.
request for materials. You just have to email rep@heavensgate.com. And
Are these books or video? Oh, they're transcripts of videotape series. Are they like there? Session 1. Let's see. Oh, it's there.
Gosh.
Oh my God. Wait, these are long. Wow.
yeah, there's a lot. The guy
I'm
rambles.
not gonna sleep well tonight.
Oh,
Okay,
well,
let's just
Actually, if I work looking through the different materials that they have on their website, it has exit statements from 95 and 96. There's early classroom materials from 75 to 88. There's an 88 update. There's Beyond Human, The Last Call, 91 to 92. There's a USA Today ad/statement from 93. Let's look at this. Oh, it's just a word.
Year
of
my
it.
brother was born.
Wow. And other statements, 94. Student statements made by students and Bible quotes. This is really spooky.
This is a very There's also an entire page.
This website.
There's an entire page on this website that says our position against suicide,
Yeah,
which I think is very ironic.
that is. When you look it up on Wikipedia, the most reliable of sources, on the side.
Oh, it's not like anyone random can like just edit an article. And
when
put
it
in
says
whatever they want.
moderator, it says just Marshall Applewhite. It doesn't mention Bonnie.
Is
that because they kind of?
It says.
I see founder.
Oh, founder, because Bonnie was a founder, but she wasn't really a moderator when the thing was a big thingy. Because Heaven's Gate really got their traction when the story came out that there was a bunch of dead people in a mansion somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
So he was the moderator when that whole thing happened.
Yeah, mass suicide, aftermath, belief system. Yeah, I definitely recommend. I mean, you covered a lot, and it was a good overview, but it looks like there must be definitely so much more.
Oh, there's so much more.
Wow.
I just can't fit it all in one podcast.
Yeah, I mean, that would be a long. This isn't too long of an episode, and I would recommend checking out our other cult and conspiracy theory-esque episodes. But yeah, there's a lot here.
The thing I noticed about this podcast more than the other one was Jonestown was much more structured. It was very beginning, middle, and end. Like it was like a movie.
Yeah.
This was, I had to make this script, I had to take so many different like things and put it together in a way that it was like, when you're putting a puzzle together and there's a piece that doesn't quite fit, but it kind of looks like it fits. Yeah. That's what I had to do with literally every single piece of information with this thing, is I had to put them together and where they kind of fit, but they didn't fit. So that if it's confusing, that's why, because there's nothing that makes sense about this cult at all.
Oh, there's an address at the bottom. What do you think?
No. Where does it say? What does it say?
Oh, you know what's interesting? Is that when I look up the address, one of the things that comes up is some blog, and it says, "Don't eat the apple," which is similar to the "Don't drink the Kool-Aid" from the Jonestown Cult.
Oh, whoa. And they ate applesauce.
Yeah, because it was the applesauce. Wow.
Okay, let's just give our final thoughts on this personally, because I'm really, really creeped out.
This is so freaky.
I'm really freaking creeped out. So let's just, Gavin, what is your final thought?
Final thoughts? Well, first of all, Lil Uzi Vert is showing up when I look up Heaven's Gate. Oh, because I think he made his profile picture. The guy. I don't know. Anyway.
I think he made an album. Or he made a song about it.
Oh my God. Now I'm seeing all the pictures of the people with the Nike shoes. Yeah, it looks like a bad Nike logo. All right. Anyway, you can look all of this up. It's on the internet. My thoughts. Chris? Leah? Someone else want to go?
Leah, do you want to go? Or are you doing your little thing?
My little what? I'm about to cry.
Yeah, are you doing your laughing cry thing?
All right, I'll say some final thoughts. It says it's a religious group. It's interesting to see that none of this stuff really mentions it was a cult. It says Heaven's Gate was an American UFO religious group based near San Diego, California. And even on Google, it says religious organization. It doesn't list it as a cult, and I wonder if that's because it was so recent that it wouldn't even consider it a cult, that it is then more of a still religious. But then it even says members, 41, pre-97, post-97, 2 members.
That's because they lived. They survived.
Oh, you know what's interesting? Is one of the top questions that people also ask when you look up Heaven's Gate. It says, why did Heaven's Gate wear Nike? It says the identical clothing was used as a uniform for mass suicide. And the Nike decades were chosen as the group, quote, got a good deal on the shoes. That's just, wow.
I did say that.
Yeah, you did mention that. That's wild. Leah, I know you're freaked out by this, as am I. But I also find it...
Oh, you were not crying.
I'm torn. I find it very fascinating. But
God,
what are your final thoughts on this?
I just want to end. I honestly, if I'm being completely real, I have no words. I'm really freaked out. Chris knows I can watch hardcore horror. I've seen the Conjuring movies. That stuff is really scary, but this honestly just hits so differently, but it just really freaks me out. So
the vibe around it is too creepy, I think.
And just the website,
the website got you, didn't it?
The colors is cool, but at the same time, it's just I'm thinking of space and aliens now totally differently than I would have originally thought. And
but this has nothing to do with space and aliens.
But that's what the website. Did you see the website?
It's the UFO religious group.
Yes, exactly.
They saw a very demented version of space and aliens than what is actually out there with space and aliens.
But my point being is that now, I'm starting to see it differently, in a more creepier version, which is really hard to do to me because I'm a big astronomy person. So.
Oh, I really hope I didn't just ruin astronomy for you.
I mean, I'm probably gonna have to watch some Yami Mash or some more bit scary game playthroughs just to kind of get my mind off of it. It was a very interesting topic. I think my favorite one, though, that we have talked about was the Jonestown Cult, which please check it out.
Oh yeah, that was amazing.
Check
Yeah,
it out.
I'm seeing
check it out.
under this one, there's all these. Well, first of all, the first one that pops up for people also search for is People's Temple, which that's the Jonestown one, isn't it?
Right, that People's Temple Agricultural Project.
Yeah, but now I'm seeing all of these other cults, and I think Chris led that last one. He led this one. I might lead the next one on the cult. There looks like some pretty freaky cults.
No, I will not be leading a cult. Just so you guys know, I will not be leading a cult podcast. I just, in general, unless you have like a really friendly cult, but I don't think you could have like a really friendly cult because like honestly, just the whole idea of cults and followings like that are so serious like that. Like you would devote your life to like try and reach a goal of like just something kind of a little unreal and unrealistic. I just think cults are really creepy. So,
yeah, I mean, we'll definitely record these.
But
I'm so sorry to interrupt you. I was about to say,
No, you're good.
we'll definitely record these earlier in the day. Any of these freaky ones.
I
It's also pretty
prefer
late
that.
at night. But-
Ideally.
Yeah, Chris, you did all the research for this. Do you have any final thoughts, especially diving deep into the website and all these different sources? And I assumed you watched some of the videos.
Yeah, I learned about this cult a while ago, like a couple of years ago,
Mhm.
and I had the exact same reaction as Leah did watching this thing. So I've become kind of desensitized to this whole thing just because I researched it for a couple of years now. And I have to say, this was when I thought of cults to research, this was the cult that I was thinking of, but I misinterpreted, and Jonestown was the one that I combined the two cults. I thought that Jonestown and this one were the exact same thing, which they weren't.
Uh-huh.
So this one is the creepiest cult I've ever seen.
I mean, they're not too dissimilar. I can understand just having mild knowledge of like mass suicide thing. I don't know how exactly common that is, but
I don't know.
yeah.
Yeah, I feel like in a lot of cults, which this is probably true, and my butt is just so dumb. But I feel like in a lot of cults, you really have to devote your life in your, like I said before, you want something that's so unrealistic, and you have to do whatever the leader says. And it's just that type of stuff, it creeps me out. It's like a person would be that devoted, literally willing to sacrifice their life to, get what they want. And it's so creepy. Like,
It
It's
is very
creepy.
creepy. Yeah. All right. Well, I guess we can wrap it up there with the creepiness. So let's wrap this up. This has been This Strange World. Thank you so much for listening. I'm Gavin.
I'm Leah.
And I'm Chris. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening, and be sure to stay tuned for the next one. It'll be maybe we'll have an outro for that one.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
If you want more of This Strange World, you can listen to us wherever you get your podcasts, and you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at This Strange World Podcast and on Twitter at This Strange Pod. And now it's time for my favorite part, because I get to sit closer to my mic. It's time for the sources. Chris, you did not make any of this up. You emphasize this a lot, that this is all very real. So
This
tell
was
us,
too real.
too real. Tell us where you found all of your sources for today's episode.
I got some of my stuff was from heavensgate.com, the website that's going to give Leah nightmares tonight. I got there was 2 YouTube videos that I got my stuff from: Heaven's Gate UFO Cult Documentary by Documentary Channel, and Heaven's Gate Cult Initiation Tape Part 1, which is from the Cult Initiation Tape. There's about 10 of them, and they're all very long, so I'm not going to watch them all. I got some of my sources from deathreference.com, which talk about...
I just hit my mic. Could you start that again?
Yeah. Just
Maybe I'll leave that in. It's candid. This is the sources. This is the candid part.
Death Reference. And I know you're not supposed to, but
No.
I went into Wikipedia.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my
It's
goodness.
just, man.
It's okay. It's okay.
It's okay. I've used Wiki too.
We like Wikipedia here. I think it's fine. It works.
It does, but I didn't get a lot. I only did that to see if my story was checking out, to make sure it was
It's got some good overviews.
Yeah.
So yeah, well, is that all of them?
Yeah.
This is the real ending of the podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and please tune into the next one. Any final thoughts?
You believe
All right. Don't do mass suicide. Is that what you were gonna say?
Say don't mix medicine with vodka shots.
Yeah. Don't mix epilepsy
never.
medicine,
No,
vodka
don't
shots,
ever do it.
applesauce. No, that's not. There's so many other things you can do. Don't do that. That's our advice. Don't do that. That's what we say. See you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.